Welcome students to online teaching program. Myself Mrs. Bijay Kulkarni from JDC Bitco English Medium High School, Nasik Road. Children, we have already started with Unit 2. Today we are going to see a very interesting poem, that is 2.3 Somebody's Mother. This is a beautiful poem written by Mary Doe Brine. She was a well-known poet and also a great writer. She was also a singer in her times. She had written many poems. Especially, she used to write, and she was very famous for writing the poems based on small kids. And if we see her writings, all her writings are based on small kids. This is a beautiful poem written on a mother. This poem teaches us wonderful values and how to take care of others, especially to the unknown persons. Always be kind, helpful, humble towards others. This poem also states that if we help others, one fine day definitely we too will get help from others. So this is a very wonderful poem, specially written on a mother. Let us see. Now let us see the central idea of the poem. The poem Somebody's Mother, written by Mary Doe Brine, is about how a young school-going boy helps an old woman cross the road. It highlights the fact that if we always try to help people in need, because you never know when your old mother or you yourself will need help. In short, this is a simple and touching poem. A young boy helps an old woman to cross the street. He further realizes that she is probably somebody's mother. He hopes that when his own mother is in need of help in his absence, definitely someone like him will come along and help her in her need. So this is a very wonderful poem which teaches us the wonderful values of our life and how to take care of others. That means especially be very humble, kind and polite towards others. Let us see the first stanza. This is the portrait of a winter season. The woman was old and ragged and grey, and bent with the chill of winter's day. The streets were white with the recent snow, and the woman's feet with age were slow. In the first stanza, the poet says that the woman was very old, with grey hair. She was wearing torn clothes. Her back was bent with an cold of the winter's day. She was unable to walk, so her feet were very slow due to her age. The roads were full of recent snowfall, so she was unable to walk in the wintry day. Let us see the second stanza. And the crowded crossing she waited long, go still aside by the careless throng of human beings who passed her by, unheeding the glance of her anxious eye. In the second stanza, the poet says that the woman waited for a long time, but she was unable to cross the road because of the crowd on the road. The careless crowd, in fact, pushed her aside. No one allowed her to cross the road. There were hustle and bustle of people crossing the road from to and fro, without bothering about her anxiety that she too wanted to cross the road. Nobody bothered to look at her and to help her cross the road. The third stanza. Down the street with laughter and shout, glad in the freedom of school let out, came happy boys like a flock of sheep, hailing the snow piled white and deep. Past the woman, so old and grey, hastened the children on her way. The third stanza tells us about that the children, those who were shouting and crossing the road, in fact it was a group of happy boys, they were very glad because that particular day they were free from school very early. They looked like a flock of sheep. In fact, they welcomed the snow which was piled white and deep. They were very happy. They were bursting into laughter and crossing the road. They were shouting too. In fact, they were enjoying the half day of the school. They went quickly on their way past the old woman. In fact, they never bothered to see that there is an old woman standing beside who was in need to help her to cross the road. They didn't even notice her. They very fast crossed the road. None offered a helping hand to her, so weak and timid, afraid to stir, lest the carriage wheels on the horse's feet should trample her down in the slippery feet. As we can see, this old woman, she was standing for a long time to cross the road. The group of school boys, they too passed away, but they didn't even notice her that she was in need to cross the road. None of the boys offered her a helping hand to cross. She was scared and she was weak. In fact, she was very afraid to move on the slippery street because of the fear and because of her old age. She would be trampled either by the wheels. She was afraid that somebody would drop down her on the roadside. She was very scared to cross the road. Especially she was afraid of the carriages or the horse feet to drop her down on the roadside on that wintry day. In fact, being old age, she was very afraid to cross the road, and everyone just neglected her to help her to cross the road. At last came out of the merry troop the gayest boy of all the group. He paused beside her and whispered low, "I will help you across if you wish to go." Finally, out of the happy group of school-going children, the gayest boy came out. He paused near her. He waited and he realized that this old woman was in need of help as she wanted to cross the road. So he told her very softly that if the lady wished to go, definitely he would provide help her to cross the road. This was a very good thing what the lady wished, because from a long time she was waiting all alone that somebody will provide her a help to cross the road. And this gayest boy from the group of the children, he waited, he realized, and he showed a helping hand towards her. Her aged hand on his strong young arm she placed, and so without hurt or harm he guided the trembling feet along, proud that his own were young and strong. Then back again to his friends he went, his young heart happy and well content. As we can see that this boy who provided a helping hand to the old lady, she too believed in him, so she placed her old hand on his strong young arm and he guided her trembling feet along without allowing her to be hurt or harmed. Very slowly, this particular boy, he holded the lady's hand and helped her to cross the road. He was very happy that his own feet were young and strong, and they were definitely a very helpful one to the needy, especially the old woman. After taking her across, he went back to his friends. He seems very happy that today he had helped an old, especially a needy woman, and content that with what he had done. In fact, he was very happy and he was very satisfied that he had helped the old woman to cross the road. On the other hand, the old woman too was very happy that this particular boy had provided a helping hand to help her cross the road. She is somebody's mother, boys, you know. For all she is aged and poor and slow, and someone, sometime, may lend a hand to help my mother. You understand? If ever she is old and poor and grey, and her own dear boy so far away. When the boy, after helping the old woman, when he goes and joins his group of friends, he explained to other boys that the old lady was somebody's mother after all. Even though she was now old, she was very poor as well as she was very slow because of old age. She was unable to walk properly, she was trembling. He hoped that someone, sometime, may lend a helping hand to his own mother. If she becomes old, she becomes poor and grey. Even though her son was far away, definitely one fine day, his mother too will receive a help from someone else. Somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night, and the prayer she said was, God, be kind to that noble boy who is somebody's son and pride and joy. In the last stanza, we can see that after reaching very safely home that night, the old lady who was somebody's mother, she bowed her head and prayed to God, asking him to be very kind to that particular noble boy who had definitely helped her today to cross the road, who was somebody's son and pride and joy. The old woman, she was very happy, she was very satisfied that in the very crowded street, the boy helped her to cross the road in the wintry day. So she prayed God that definitely be very kind towards the boy, because he too was somebody's son. He was a pride and joy for someone. A very beautiful poem which is written by Mary D'O'Brien, especially on a mother. Now let us see an appreciation of this poem. We have already discussed in many poems. We are going to write the appreciation in a paragraph format. You are going to write this appreciation in your homework notebook. Now let us see how to write an appreciation in a paragraph format. In fact, many a times we have discussed how to write the paragraph format. The poem Somebody's Mother is written by Mary D'O'Brien. The first point is name of the poem as well as the name of the poet. It describes an incident in which a young boy helps a frightened old lady to cross the street. This is the third point, children, we are writing or we are discussing. The third point is the theme or the central idea of the poem. When she was being ignored by everyone else, he tells his young friends that he hopes that when his own mother is old and needs help, someone will help her too if he is not at hand. This is the third point, the central idea of the poem. What message the poet wants to convey through the poem. We are going to write, or we have already written here in the third point. The next point is a rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme of stanzas 3 and 6 is A, B, B, C, C. And all the other stanzas have the rhyming scheme A, B, B. This is the fourth point. The next point is figure of speech. In fact, throughout the poem, the poet has used varieties of figure of speeches. Like we can see alliteration, inversion is there. In order to attract the readers on the theme of the poem. The figure of speech is a musical tune which is added by the poet to certain poem, as we have already studied in many of the poems. So the figure of speech here used is inversion. Many a times the poet has used this so that the readers, while reading the incorrect grammatical order, they will take a pause there and they will think about why the poet has used incorrect or grammatical prose order. Let us see an example. At the crowded crossing she waited long. The figure of speech is inversion. The correct prose order is she waited long at the crowded crossing. Other figure of speech here used is like he has used simile in order to show the comparison. Another figure of speech which is used throughout the poem, we can see, that is alliteration. Musical sound is repeated again and again for the readers to focus on the theme in order to make the readers know about what message the poet wants to convey through the poem. The next point is about special feature or implied meaning of the poem. The poem is written very simply and helps us to get a mental picture of the entire incident. Especially the readers, when they go through the poem, definitely the picture stands in their mind about the old lady who is standing in the wintry day. She was very helpless because of her old age. She was very slow. She was trembling due to severe cold. She was unable to cross the road. The picture stands in the minds of the readers. It reminds us of the saying, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto to you." Definitely. If we help others, one fine day God is there to help you when you need. So here the young boy, even though everyone was busy on the busy road, the young boy provided a helping hand to the old lady when she was in need. The poet conveys a wonderful values of our life, that we should help always others, those who are in need. Take care of others, especially to the unknown person. Be kind, be helpful, be humble to them. Now next point is my favorite line. In fact, the poem is very wonderful. And the favorite line is, "And so without hurt or harm, he guided the trembling feet along." Without any hurt or without any harm to the old lady, the young boy guided the trembling feet of the old lady to cross the road. The last point is why I like the poem. I like the poem because of the compassion shown by the young boy and because of its inner meaning, what we must help others. In fact, here the poet wants to convey that if we help others, definitely we too will get help from others when we are in need. The poetess here is speaking about an old aged woman on the street. No one helped her, but finally the gayest boy of the merry gang asked her and provided a help to her. So this was a poem what we have seen on somebody's mother. I hope children you have understood the poem. Write the appreciation in your homework notebook and try to complete the textual exercises.